Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into it.
Many motorists will agree that with the arrival on the market of cars with automatic transmission, the process of control became much easier. This made it possible to master driving skills faster. There is no need to be distracted by manually shifting gears and working with the clutch pedal. The clutch in the automatic transmission is provided, only it works without the driver's participation. Therefore, there is no need to use three pedals. Only the throttle and brake remain. But you also need to operate the machine correctly. For this purpose, it is necessary to know about all available modes and peculiarities of their use. The most frequent question arises in relation to the neutral gear. Not everyone understands why it is needed there and what its functional purpose is. After all, in practice, few people use the N mode on the automatic transmission selector. What modes there are on the automatic transmission? Before we talk about why neutral gear is needed on the automatic transmission, it is necessary to study all the available modes. Depending on the specific automatic transmission, the set of modes can be different, but they are the same for all cars. Most often on modern automatics, there are 5 positions on the panel of the automatic box. It is between them that the driver chooses the necessary one, working with the selector, drive mode, or simply the letter D. It is considered the main position because when it is selected, the car starts moving forward. P or parking mode. The need for parking mode is explained simply. It is the required position if the car is stopped and the driver leaves the passenger compartment. R or reverse. Another necessary mode. This position is responsible for the ability to move in reverse. That is, it is the reverse gear, if it can be called so. This is neutral. It is this mode that the main material will be devoted to. Overdrive, or the letters O/D. It is not present on all automatic transmissions, but it is quite common. It has several purposes. It is recommended to switch on overdrive if you need to overtake a car at a speed of more than 100 kilometers per hour, tow a trailer, or drive off-road. In fact, it is an overdrive gear, which is analogous to 5-speed on mechanics. As you can see, all the modes considered, except neutral, have important functions and purpose. But regarding the tasks of the N position, there are a lot of disputes and conversations. What the N position is used for. One of the most common questions among those who have recently moved to an automatic transmission is why neutral is needed on an automatic, and in what situations it is used. Neutral on an automatic transmission differs significantly from the use of neutral gear on an automatic transmission. Very often drivers, who previously drove mechanics all their lives, by habit switch on neutral at traffic lights, and then switch back to drive. This is a common mistake that can lead to serious negative consequences. Taking into account the difference between the automatic transmission and the automatic transmission, it is necessary to understand in detail why neutral speed on the automatic is necessary and when it is not necessary. Situations will be considered separately when driving in reverse, at traffic lights, at parking lots, when towing the car. Before discussing this and understanding what the neutral position on the automatic transmission is for, it is important to take into account one point. By switching to the N position, the friction in the torque converter is released and the interaction between the engine and the wheels is broken. The torque converter continues its rotation, but does not connect the chassis elements with the engine. Basically, neutral is used in situations when it is necessary to unlock the wheels. Most often N mode is selected when it is necessary to tow the car or when servicing the car at a service station. Rolling motion, let's start with whether it is possible to drive in neutral on an automatic, as well as in the case with a mechanic. From hills and protracted descents. Motorists who prefer manual gearboxes are accustomed to this way to save fuel. After all, when rolling, gasoline is not consumed. Read also how the fan visc oil is arranged, why it is needed, why and how it breaks. But here it is important to understand what happens to the automatic transmission if you move the selector to the neutral position. At this point, the oil supply to the internal components of the box will stop, the internal pressure will change, and the elements will rotate dry. Since the automatic transmission has a number of rubbing elements that constantly need lubrication in the form of transmission oil, Operation without lubricant leads to accelerated wear of the parts. Surfaces rub together, heat up, rub off, and fail. As you can see, because of this, rolling down a hill in neutral is strongly discouraged if it is an automatic transmission. Similarly, it is not allowed to sharply switch on the drive position when going downhill. This will literally lead to the destruction of friction. After all, when switching to drive, there is a strong push from the oil pump. Such a phenomenon is actually destructive for the torque converter unit. If to move from a hill on an automatic, then only at position of a lever in drive mode. It is enough just to release the gas pedal, not to spend unnecessary fuel. In this position, the box will not suffer, as it will continue to be supplied with the right amount of oil. Regarding rolling on the automatic with the neutral switch on, the following conclusions can be made. When switching to N, the gearbox units are no longer lubricated. The driver has fewer options for maneuvers, because he will not be able to gain speed to avoid another car or other obstacle. Switching from D to N can be considered forbidden, because the pressure increases sharply. Such actions lead to only one thing. It's an automatic transmission failure. Traffic lights and traffic jams, there is the most important and most common misconception about whether you can put the automatic transmission box in neutral gear, being in a protracted traffic jam or stopping at a traffic light. In the case of a manual, everything is very clear. When approaching a red traffic light, or when stopping because of traffic, you can safely switch on neutral and then shift into gear to continue driving. Neutral is engaged for an opportunity to temporarily take your foot off the clutch and give it a rest. Plus, it's better to start in first gear. But it is necessary to understand what will happen if you put the neutral gear in such a situation exactly on the automatic transmission. To understand this, you need to get into the essence of how an automatic transmission works. By turning the selector lever to the drive position, the torque converter is constantly pressurized, which contributes to the transmission of torque. In this position, all internal elements are actively lubricated with gear oil. If the accelerator pedal is not held down, the torque converter simply goes into the so-called green mode of operation. This means that only one process is taking place, and that is lubricating the elements with oil. If you select neutral, then the input and output shafts will open, and the lubrication process will be interrupted. The pump will not supply oil to the internal components. When a traffic light turns green or a traffic jam starts, the driver naturally shifts into drive. Such a switchover creates the strongest stress for the gearbox, because the pressure changes instantly. Internal components of the gearbox have to perform additional actions and movements, which negatively affects their condition and accelerates wear. By analogy, the issue of prolonged idling in a traffic jam is considered. It is not necessary to shift several times in 5 minutes from position D to mode N and back again. If you have to stand in a traffic jam for a long time without moving, it is better to switch to parking mode or turn off the engine altogether. Acting according to this scheme will save the automatic transmission from premature wear and breakdowns. Do not stand in neutral in traffic jams and at traffic lights. In theory, you can do it, but there is no need to do it. You will only provoke unnecessary problems with the machine. Read also, Trumbler, its device, possible malfunctions, and inspection parking separately. We need to talk about the possibility and necessity to transfer the automatic transmission box to the neutral position when the car is parked or parked. Owners of mechanic cars often abuse the fact that they begin to squeeze the gas to the floor, being in a stationary state. Hence the legitimate question regarding whether it is possible to gas up when in neutral on an automatic. In fact, there are different opinions on this matter. Some believe that it is categorically prohibited. Others are sure that nothing terrible will happen. And the truth is in the middle. It is possible to accelerate, but only with wisdom and caution. Old automatic transmissions are more susceptible to such actions and do not like excessively high revolutions in neutral. Many modern cars have a cutoff on the tachometer, above which the engine cannot be revved in neutral. But here's some advice. Do not accelerate unnecessarily on the spot. As for parking, before turning off the engine on the automatic and leaving the car in neutral, check whether it is possible to do so. The automatic transmission has a special mode P, or parking for parking and parking. It should be used. But it happens that this mode does not work. There are some problems. This is rare, but it cannot be excluded. In this situation, the neutral comes to the rescue. The box can be put in this position, in parallel turning on the parking brake. But at the first need, be sure to resume the P mode and try to use only it. As for starting after parking on N, then it will be necessary to turn off the parking brake, and before starting the engine, depress the brake pedal. That's it, you're good to go. Towing, and another equally important question. It concerns whether it is possible to tow a car with an automatic transmission while moving in neutral. It is undesirable to take a car with an automatic transmission that cannot drive itself. This is prescribed in all manuals. It is better to call a tow truck. But the manual says that if necessary, towing is allowed. There are some restrictions. The gearbox must be in neutral. Driving speed does not exceed 35 to 50 kilometers per hour. The maximum distance for towing is no more than 50 kilometers. Some even limit the distance to 10 to 20 kilometers. If the service station or garage is further away, it is better to call a tow truck. If partial loading is performed, then the driving wheels should be loaded onto the tow truck. It is possible to tow other cars and trailers on the automatic. For this purpose, it is recommended to switch to overdrive mode and adhere to the general rules of towing, weight, speed, and distance limits. Tips for beginners. Having understood when and how you can use neutral gear, you need to learn a few more useful lessons. Beginners should be given these recommendations. You can't stop and leave the car in D with the engine off. The engine will not start. From position D, because there is a special lock, to start the car, it is necessary to switch to parking or neutral. If starting is done in position N, the accelerator pedal must be depressed beforehand, otherwise the car will start rolling. If it is parking, it is not necessary to depress the brake, as the wheels are already locked. After starting the engine in N or P, let it run for A, while to allow the engine and the gearbox to pump oil through the system. As you can see, the automatic transmission also has its own recommendations and peculiarities of operation. If you violate these rules, then you can face unpleasant consequences in the form of breakdowns and premature wear of the automatic transmission. In conclusion, understanding the role of neutral gear in an automatic transmission is essential for every driver. It serves specific purposes, such as when you need to tow your vehicle or when you're waiting at a traffic light for an extended period. However, it's crucial to use it correctly to avoid potential damage to your transmission and ensure your safety on the road. Always remember to shift into neutral only when necessary and to engage the brake to prevent any unintended movement. By following these guidelines, you can make the most of your vehicle's features while driving confidently and responsibly. Thank you for watching, and drive safely.